I gave the alien queen a birthday cake. She cried and said, "No one's ever celebrated my birth before." Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. I never expected a simple gesture to change galactic politics forever. Yet there I was, a junior diplomat on my first interstellar assignment, about to cause an interplanetary incident with flour, sugar, and candles. The Galactic Diplomatic Corps had warned us during training that humanity was the new kid on the block. 67 years since first contact, and we were still figuring out how to navigate the complex web of alliances, treaties, and customs of the 17 known sentient species. As the most junior member of Earth's diplomatic team to the Vexilian Empire, my job was simple: stay quiet, take notes, and don't cause trouble. The Vexilians were impressive by any standard. Tall, elegant beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions, they had ruled their sector of the galaxy for over 5,000 years. Their technology was centuries beyond ours, their cultural achievements legendary, and their queen, well, Queen Nereax was something else entirely. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with skin that rippled between deep purple and midnight blue, she cut an imposing figure. Her forearms moved with perfect coordination as she gestured during speeches, and the bioluminescent markings along her neck and forehead glowed brighter when she spoke with authority. The first time I attended a royal audience, I could barely remember my own name when she fixed those silver eyes on me. "You are the new Earth representative, correct?" Her voice was melodic but carried an edge that made it clear she was accustomed to immediate obedience. "Yes, Your Majesty," I managed to reply, bowing deeply as instructed. Tyler Grant, junior diplomatic attaché. She had simply nodded and moved on to more important matters. I was nobody, just the human who carried datapads and fetched refreshments for the senior diplomats. For 3 months, I performed my duties without incident. I learned to navigate the labyrinthine royal palace, memorized the proper greetings for 17 different species, and discovered which palace servants could be befriended for useful information. I was doing well, building a foundation for what I hoped would be a long diplomatic career. Then came the incident with the classified files. I was working late in the diplomatic offices, organizing briefing materials for the next day's trade negotiations, when I accidentally accessed a restricted server. Instead of the agricultural reports I was seeking, my screen filled with the Queen's personal schedule and biographical information. I should have closed it immediately. Protocol demanded I report the security breach and accept whatever reprimand followed. Instead, my eyes caught on a single line in her biographical data. Date of emergence: Galactic Standard Date, 4726.89. Conversion: Earth date, September 18th. That was tomorrow. The Queen's birthday, or Emergence Day, as the Vexilians called it, was tomorrow, and there was nothing on her schedule to indicate any celebration. Curious, I scrolled further, scanning years of historical schedules. Nothing. No celebrations, no acknowledgments, not even a formal recognition of the date. In 27 years of rule, Queen Nereax had never once celebrated her Emergence Day. I closed the file and sat back, puzzled. Every human culture I knew celebrated birthdays in some form. Even my most work-obsessed colleagues took at least a moment to acknowledge their special day. "Something troubling you, Tyler?" The voice made me jump. It was Keela, one of the Vexilian palace staff I'd befriended. Her skin was currently a calm teal, indicating curiosity without alarm. "I just learned tomorrow is the Queen's Emergence Day," I said cautiously. "But there doesn't seem to be any celebration planned." Keela's skin flickered briefly to a surprised yellow before settling back to teal. "Vexilians do not celebrate Emergence Days, especially not the royal family. It would be considered self-indulgent." "Really? No cake? No presents? No acknowledgement at all? Cake?" Keela tilted her head, the Vexilian equivalent of a confused frown. "What is the purpose of this cake?" I spent the next 20 minutes explaining human birthday traditions, from candles and wishes to parties and gifts. Keela listened with increasing fascination, her skin shifting to an interested lavender. Fascinating, she said finally. Humans celebrate simply existing for another orbital cycle. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds silly, I admitted. But it's really about taking a moment to appreciate someone. To say, I'm glad you were born. I'm glad you exist. Keela was quiet for a long moment, her skin cycling through thoughtful blues and greens. The Queen has never experienced this appreciation. Something in her tone made me pause. Is that unusual? Even for Vexillians? The royal family follows stricter protocols than most. And Queen Nereax. Keela hesitated. She ascended to the throne very young after her mother's assassination. There was no time for normal experiences. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the Queen, regal, powerful, feared across the galaxy, never once having someone celebrate her existence. The more I thought about it, the more wrong it seemed. By morning, I had made a decision that would either end my diplomatic career or become its most notable achievement. I was going to give Queen Nereax a birthday cake. The first challenge was finding ingredients. The Vexillian Palace kitchen was designed for preparing Vexillian cuisine, not Earth desserts. After considerable negotiation and calling in several favors, I managed to gather approximations of flour, sugar, eggs, and flavoring. The result wouldn't win any baking competitions, but it would at least be recognizable as a cake. The second challenge was access. Junior diplomats didn't simply request private audiences with galactic royalty. Fortunately, I had spent 3 months mapping the palace's daily rhythms. I knew the Queen took tea alone in her private garden every afternoon at precisely 1500 hours. The garden had a service entrance used by maintenance staff, including my friend Keela. This is madness, Keela whispered as she led me through the service corridor, her skin a nervous orange. If you're caught, you'll be deported at best, imprisoned at worst. Then I won't get caught, I replied with more confidence than I felt. The makeshift cake box felt heavy in my hands. The garden sensor will announce your presence immediately, unless it's temporarily recalibrated to ignore human biosignatures, I said. Keela's skin flushed a guilty red. Thank you for that, by the way. 5 minutes, she hissed as we reached the service door. You have 5 minutes before the override looks suspicious. I nodded, took a deep breath, and stepped into the royal garden. It was breathtaking, a perfect microcosm of Vexillian ecosystems. Luminescent plants cast a soft glow over crystal formations, while small anti-gravity platforms held floating pools of liquid that changed colors with the breeze. In the center, seated alone at a small table, was Queen Nereax. She looked different here. Her formal regalia was absent, replaced by simpler attire. Her posture was relaxed, almost vulnerable. For a moment, I nearly lost my nerve. Then she sensed my presence. Her head snapped up, silver eyes widening, skin flashing a startled crimson. What is the meaning of this intrusion? Her voice was quiet but dangerous. I swallowed hard and stepped forward, cake box held before me like a shield. Forgive the interruption, Your Majesty. I came to wish you a happy Emergence Day. Her skin cycled rapidly through colors before settling on a confused violet. Explain yourself, human. On Earth, we celebrate the day of a person's birth, I said, opening the box to reveal my crude cake with its single candle. It's a way of showing someone that we're glad they exist, that their life matters to us. The Queen stared at the cake, then at me, completely still except for the colors flowing across her skin. This is not a Vexillian custom. No, Your Majesty. It's a human one. But sometimes the best diplomacy comes from sharing cultures, not just respecting their boundaries. I took another step forward and placed the cake on her table. The candle represents another year of life. Traditionally, you make a wish, blow it out, and then the wish might come true. A superstition, she stated flatly. Yes, I admitted, but a hopeful one. For a long moment, the Queen simply stared at the flickering candle. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, softer, with a quality I couldn't quite identify. In 27 years on the throne, no one has acknowledged my Emergence Day. Not once. Her skin had settled into a deep blue I'd never seen before. Why would you, a junior diplomat with no obligation to me, do this? I chose my words carefully. Because everyone deserves to be celebrated, Your Majesty. Even, especially, those who carry the heaviest burdens. Something changed in her silver eyes then. She leaned forward slightly, studying the candle flame as if it contained some profound secret. What am I to wish for? Anything you want, but you can't tell anyone or it won't come true. Her lips curved in what might have been a smile. She closed her eyes briefly, then leaned forward and with a gentle breath, extinguished the flame. What happened next would change the course of galactic politics forever. Queen Nereax, ruler of the Vexilian Empire, conqueror of the Towered Expanse, the Midnight Sovereign feared across 17 star systems, looked up at me with glistening silver eyes. No one has ever celebrated my birth before, she said, a single luminescent tear tracing down her iridescent cheek. Thank you, Tyler Grant of Earth. Before I could respond, the garden door burst open. Royal guards flooded in, weapons raised, followed by the horrified faces of Earth's senior diplomatic team. Ambassador Chen looked ready to faint when she saw me standing before the Queen with a cake. Your Majesty, please accept our profound apologies for this breach of protocol, the ambassador began, shooting me a look that promised severe consequences. This junior officer acted without authorization and will be severely disciplined. Ambassador, the Queen interrupted, her voice once again regal and commanding. There has been no breach of protocol. The entire garden fell silent. The Queen's skin had shifted to a formal gold, her posture once again perfect and imposing. Tyler Grant was invited to participate in a cultural exchange at my request. I find these human birthday customs intriguing. She fixed her silver gaze on the stunned ambassador. In fact, I believe such cultural exchanges should be expanded. Beginning tomorrow, I wish to have Junior Diplomat Grant assigned as my personal human cultural attaché. Ambassador Chin's mouth opened and closed without sound, resembling an earth goldfish. Your Majesty, that would be unprecedented. Many worthwhile things begin as unprecedented, Ambassador. The Queen's tone made it clear the matter was settled. She turned back to me. You will begin your new duties tomorrow, Diplomat Grant. Yes, Your Majesty, I managed to reply, still processing what had just happened. As the guards escorted me and the still speechless ambassador from the garden, I caught a final glimpse of Queen Nereax. For just a moment, when no one else was looking, her skin flickered to that deep blue again, and she touched one finger gently to the extinguished candle. I had no way of knowing then that this simple act, bringing cake to an alien queen, would eventually lead to the greatest peace accord in galactic history. I couldn't have predicted that Queen Nereax would become Earth's most powerful ally, or that our friendship would avert a war that might have destroyed both our species. All I knew was that somewhere beneath the regal exterior of the Vexilian Queen was a person who had never been celebrated, and that somehow, against all diplomatic protocol and common sense, I had managed to change that. The next morning, I reported to the Queen's private chambers as instructed, still half expecting to be arrested for yesterday's breach of protocol. Instead, I found Her Majesty reviewing reports on a holographic display, her skin a calm, focused blue. Diplomat Grant, she acknowledged without looking up. I have been reviewing Earth's cultural database. Your species has an extraordinary number of celebration rituals. We do enjoy our holidays, Your Majesty. These holidays serve no apparent practical purpose, yet you maintain them with remarkable dedication. She gestured to the holographic display showing Earth's major celebrations. Christmas, Diwali, Lunar New Year, Eid, all involving gatherings, gifts, special foods. They build community, Your Majesty. They remind us of what matters beyond just surviving. She considered this, her skin rippling with thoughtful purples. The Vexilian Empire has existed for 5 millennia by prioritizing efficiency and discipline above all. We have few such frivolities. I chose my next words carefully. With respect, Your Majesty, perhaps that's why Earth culture has spread so quickly through the galaxy. Our music, art, food, they connect people across species boundaries. An interesting hypothesis. She closed the holographic display with a gesture. You will test it for me. Test it, Your Majesty? Yes. I am hosting the Galactic Security Summit in 3 standard weeks. Representatives from 14 species will attend, many of whom have long-standing grievances with each other. You will incorporate Earth celebration customs into the diplomatic proceedings. I stared at her, stunned. The Galactic Security Summit was the most important diplomatic event of the year, where peace treaties were negotiated and military boundaries established. And she wanted me to what? Throw a party? Your Majesty, I'm not sure the senior diplomats would. The senior diplomats answer to their governments, who answer to me. Her skin flashed a confident gold. You will have whatever resources you require. Your assignment is to create moments of connection, like the one you facilitated yesterday. That was how I, a junior diplomat barely 3 months into my first assignment, found myself planning the social aspects of the galaxy's most critical security conference. The senior diplomatic team was horrified, of course. Ambassador Chen spent an entire hour explaining exactly how I would be held responsible if interstellar war broke out, because I served the wrong appetizers. For 3 weeks, I worked frantically, researching the preferences and taboos of 14 different species, designing events that would bring them together in non-threatening settings. I created a welcome reception with food stations representing each world, a music exchange where diplomats shared songs from their cultures, and even a gift-giving ceremony based on Earth's secret Santa tradition. Throughout it all, Queen Nereax watched with that same thoughtful expression she had shown in the garden, her skin cycling through curious violets and interested blues. Sometimes she would ask questions about specific Earth customs or suggest modifications to accommodate Vexillian protocols. Other times she would simply observe, those silver eyes missing nothing. The night before the summit, she summoned me to her private study. Are the preparations complete? She asked, her skin a formal gold that revealed nothing of her thoughts. Yes, Your Majesty, though I'm still not entirely sure what you're hoping to achieve. She was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the Vexillian capital glittering below the palace. For 5,000 years, the Empire has maintained peace through strength and fear. We negotiate from positions of power. We form alliances based on strategic advantage. Her skin shifted to that deep blue I had seen in the garden. Yet in all that time, we have never had true friends among the galactic community. Only subjects, rivals, or uneasy allies. She turned to face me. Your cake made me realize something, Tyler Grant. There is power in celebration, in acknowledging another's existence as valuable simply because they exist, not because of what they can provide. That's a very human perspective, Your Majesty. Perhaps humanity has something to teach the oldest empire in the galaxy after all. Her lips curved in that almost smile again. Now get some rest. Tomorrow we'll test both our diplomatic skills. The Galactic Security Summit began the following morning with all the formal pomp Vexillian protocol demanded. 14 species, many of whom had fought wars against each other within living memory, gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall, their representatives maintaining careful distances and formal expressions. Then Queen Nereax did something unprecedented. Instead of opening with the traditional recitation of Vexillian military achievements, she stepped forward and spoke directly to the assembled diplomats. Welcome, honored representatives, to the first day of a new approach to galactic security. Her skin was a calm, confident gold, but with hints of warm orange I had never seen her display publicly before. For too long, we have defined security solely through the lens of power and deterrence. Today, we will explore another path, security through genuine connection. She gestured toward me, standing nervously at the side of the hall. My human cultural attaché has prepared a series of events designed to help us know each other not just as political entities, but as people. I invite you all to participate with open minds. The confused murmurs that swept through the hall were understandable. This was not how galactic politics worked. Yet when the Queen of the Vexillian Empire personally leads, others follow, even if reluctantly. What followed was 3 days of the strangest diplomatic proceedings in galactic history. Serious negotiations about defense perimeters were followed by collaborative cooking classes. Debates about trade sanctions paused for music exchanges. The formal gift ceremony I had organized initially met with stiff participation until the Dorisian ambassador unwrapped a hand-carved puzzle box from the Centauri delegation, the same Centauri who had blockaded Dorisian shipping lanes for the past decade. "This is exquisite craftsmanship," the Dorisian admitted, all 6 appendages carefully turning the puzzle box. "How did you know I collect such things?" The Centauri ambassador's plumage ruffled in pleased embarrassment. "We researched our recipients. The human suggested personal touches would be appreciated." Small moments like these accumulated throughout the summit. The Alturian and Mavidian delegates, whose species had not officially spoken for 70 years, found themselves bonding over their shared appreciation for Earth jazz. The notoriously private Kandorian representative actually laughed at a joke from the Lyrishan ambassador during the dessert reception. On the final evening, Queen Nereax hosted a formal dinner that combined Vexilian grandeur with elements from each participating world. As we prepared in the final hours, she summoned me to her chambers. "The summit concludes tonight," she said, her skin a calm blue that betrayed nothing of her thoughts. "Was your experiment successful, do you think?" "It's hard to say, Your Majesty. There have been good moments, but whether they translate to actual diplomatic progress." She nodded slowly. "The true test comes tomorrow, when the final security agreements are signed. Or not signed." She turned to me, her silver eyes intent. "Regardless of the outcome, I believe what you have shown us has value, Tyler Grant." "Thank you, Your Majesty. You may return to your preparations." The final dinner was a spectacle unlike anything seen before in the palace. Each world's cuisine was represented, served by staff trained in the proper presentation customs. Music from different planets played in carefully calibrated rotation. Even the lighting had been adjusted to accommodate the visual preferences of different species. I watched nervously from the sidelines as the galactic representatives mingled, looking for signs of the diplomatic breakthroughs Queen Nereax seemed to be hoping for. There were promising moments, the Dorisian and Centauri ambassadors deep in conversation, the Alturian representative actually sampling Mavidian cuisine. But the true surprise came at the end of the evening. Queen Nereax rose from her seat at the head table, her skin shifting to formal gold as the room fell silent. "Honored representatives," she began, her melodic voice carrying effortlessly through the hall. "For 5 millennia, the Vexilian Empire has approached galactic security as a competition to be won. We have measured our success by our dominance, our treaties by their strategic advantage." Her skin began to shift, gold giving way to that deep, vulnerable blue I had seen in the garden. Gasps rippled through the room. No Vexilian monarch had ever publicly displayed such a color during a formal address. I now believe this approach has been flawed. True security comes not from being feared, but from being connected. Not from treaties that benefit one side over another, but from genuine relationships that benefit all. She raised a crystalline goblet. "Tomorrow, we will return to our formal negotiations. But tonight, I wish to do something unprecedented." Her silver eyes found mine across the room. "Tonight, I wish to celebrate." At her signal, palace staff wheeled in an enormous cake, not the crude creation I had made, but a masterpiece crafted by the palace chefs after studying earth baking techniques. Atop it burned not one candle but hundreds, their light reflecting in the stunned faces of the galactic representatives. "On Earth," Queen Nereax continued, "there is a custom of marking special occasions with cake and candles. Tonight, we celebrate not my emergence day, but something far more significant, the emergence of a new approach to our shared future." She gestured to the assembled diplomats. "Together, let us extinguish these flames and begin anew." For a moment, no one moved. Then the Dorisian ambassador stepped forward, followed by the Centauri, the Alturian, the Mavidian. One by one, representatives from 14 worlds gathered around the cake. Together, they blew out the candles. The applause that followed was spontaneous and genuine, a sound rarely heard in the formal halls of galactic diplomacy. As servants began cutting and distributing slices of cake, I felt a presence beside me. "Your Earth custom appears to be a success," Queen Nereax said quietly, her skin still that remarkable blue. "It seems so, Your Majesty." She watched as the Dorisian and Centauri ambassadors clinked their cake forks together in a toast. "Tomorrow's negotiations will tell us if the effect is lasting. And if it's not." She turned to me, and for the first time since I had known her, Queen Nereax smiled fully, without reservation. "Then we shall simply have to try again, Tyler Grant of Earth. After all, there are many Earth celebrations we have yet to introduce to the galaxy." As I watched the rulers of 14 worlds cautiously sampling Earth cake and making wishes on extinguished candles, I realized something profound. In all our preparations for first contact, humanity had worried about what we might learn from advanced alien civilizations. We had never considered what we might teach them. Sometimes the simplest human gestures, a birthday cake, a thoughtful gift, a moment taken to celebrate another's existence, can change everything. Even for an alien queen who rules the stars. The morning after the celebration, I arrived at the negotiation chambers early to prepare. The aftermath of the previous night's unprecedented cake ceremony had left the palace buzzing with speculation. Palace staff whispered in corridors, their skin flickering with excited yellows and curious greens. No one quite knew what to expect from the final day of negotiations. Ambassador Chen intercepted me outside the chamber doors, her expression torn between worry and reluctant admiration. "What exactly did you do to the queen?" she asked in a hushed voice. "In 30 years of diplomacy, I've never seen a Vexilian royal display emotional colors during a formal function." "I didn't do anything to her," I replied. "I just showed her that there are different ways to approach diplomacy." "Well, whatever you did, the Galactic Security Council is in an uproar. Half the ambassadors are calling it a breakthrough, the other half a breach of protocol." She straightened my collar with the automatic fussiness of a senior diplomat. "Just be prepared for anything today." I nodded, though in truth, I had no idea what to prepare for. The previous night's celebration had broken so many diplomatic norms that we were in uncharted territory. The chamber doors opened precisely at 9 o'clock hours. The 14 ambassadors filed in, their expressions carefully neutral, but with a notable difference from previous days. The rigid formality had softened somewhat. The Dorisian and Centauri representatives even exchanged nods as they took their seats. Queen Nereax entered last, resplendent in formal regalia, her skin a composed royal gold. She took her place at the head of the council table and surveyed the assembled diplomats with those piercing silver eyes. "Yesterday, we celebrated together," she began, her voice clear and commanding. "Today, we determine whether that shared moment was merely a pleasant interlude or the beginning of a new approach to our collective security." She gestured to the holographic display in the center of the table, which flickered to life, showing the contested border regions between various territories. "Before us are the same challenges we have faced for generations. Territory disputes, resource allocations, security perimeters." Her skin rippled slightly, gold giving way to thoughtful purple at the edges. "But perhaps we can view them through a different lens today." What followed was the most remarkable negotiation session in galactic history. Where previous summits had devolved into veiled threats and competitive posturing, this one took on a different tone. The Dorisian ambassador referenced the puzzle box gift when discussing access to a contested mining system, suggesting a similar interlocking arrangement of shared resources. The Alturian representative, usually silent except to issue formal protests, actively proposed a joint cultural exchange program with the Mevidians as a precursor to reopening diplomatic channels. Throughout it all, Queen Nereax guided the discussion with subtle skill, her skin occasionally flickering with approving blues when cooperation emerged. I watched from my position at the side of the chamber, hardly daring to believe what I was witnessing. By midday, tentative agreements had been reached on 3 long-standing conflicts that had previously seemed intractable. As the delegates broke for refreshments, Ambassador Chen appeared at my side, her expression stunned. "In 4 hours, They've made more progress than in the last 4 summits combined, she whispered. The Centauri just voluntarily offered inspection rights to the Duraxians. The Kandorians are discussing a joint defense initiative with the Lyricians. What did you put in that cake? Just sugar and hope, I replied, watching as species that had been enemies for generations cautiously engaged in casual conversation over refreshments. Sometimes people just need permission to see each other differently. After the break, as the delegates returned to their seats, an urgent message arrived for Queen Nereax. I watched her skin flash briefly with alarmed red as she read it. She composed herself quickly, returning to formal gold, but I had spent enough time with her now to recognize the tension in her posture. We will adjourn for 1 hour, she announced. A matter requires my attention. As the diplomats filed out, confused but compliant, the Queen's gaze found mine across the chamber. With a subtle gesture, she summoned me to follow her. In her private study, away from the eyes of the diplomatic corps, Queen Nereax's skin shifted rapidly through agitated colors, flashes of red, orange, and disturbed purple. We have a situation, Tyler Grant, she said, dispensing with formalities. My security forces have intercepted a transmission from a radical faction within the Vexilian military. They are displeased with the direction of the summit. Displeased enough to take action? I asked, alarm growing within me. Yes. She gestured to a holographic display showing a Vexilian battlecruiser on a direct course for the palace. Admiral Krez commands the stellar dominance. He has declared my approach to the negotiations dangerously accommodating and is moving to secure the Empire's interests. I stared at the display, horror mounting. He's staging a coup? During the Galactic Security Summit. His timing is strategic. With representatives from 14 worlds present, he can reshape the Empire's foreign policy in a single stroke. Her skin settled into a determined blue. We have 53 minutes before his ship enters weapons range. My mind raced. Can your loyal forces stop him? The palace guard remains loyal, but the military is divided. A direct confrontation would result in civil war. She turned those silver eyes to me. I need a solution that doesn't involve Vexilian fighting Vexilian. I paced the study, thoughts whirling. What exactly is Admiral Krez's objection? The substance of the negotiations, or the method? Both. He represents the old guard, those who believe Vexilian dominance is the only path to security. Her skin flickered with frustration. He sees celebration and connection as weakness. That gave me an idea so outrageous I almost didn't voice it. But we were already well beyond normal diplomatic protocols. Then let's show him the strength in celebration, I said. Not Earth's way, but a new way. One that honors Vexilian tradition while embracing something new. Queen Nereax's skin shifted to curious violet. Explain. 20 minutes later, we reconvened the security summit under the confused and concerned gazes of the 14 ambassadors. None of them knew about the approaching battlecruiser, and Queen Nereax had decided to keep it that way for now. Honored representatives, she addressed them, her skin a formal gold that betrayed none of her inner turmoil. Before we continue our negotiations, I wish to introduce a new tradition to the Galactic Security Summit, one that honors both Vexilian heritage and the spirit of connection we discovered yesterday. She gestured to the palace staff who wheeled in 14 ceremonial Vexilian battle standards, each one modified to incorporate elements from the various worlds represented at the summit. In ancient Vexilian tradition, allies who fought together would exchange battle standards as a symbol of their commitment to defend one another, she explained. Today, I invite each of you to receive a unified standard, representing our shared commitment to galactic security, not through dominance, but through mutual protection. The ambassadors exchanged uncertain glances, but the significance of a Vexilian queen offering battle standards to other species was not lost on them. One by one, they stepped forward to receive their standards, each one holding the ceremonial staff with appropriate gravity. As the ceremony concluded, Queen Nereax subtly checked the time. 38 minutes until Admiral Krez's battlecruiser arrived. Now, she continued smoothly. As we prepare to finalize our historic agreements, I invite you all to join me on the grand balcony for the formal presentation of the standards to the people of the capital. This was not part of the original agenda, and I could see Ambassador Chen's puzzled expression as she followed along with the other diplomats. Only Queen Nereax and I knew the real purpose, positioning the ambassadors where they would be visible to the approaching battlecruiser. As we proceeded to the grand balcony overlooking the capital city, I felt the weight of what we were attempting. If Admiral Krez remained unmoved by our display, 14 of the galaxy's most important diplomats would have front-row seats to a Vexilian coup, or worse, become casualties in it. The grand balcony was the traditional place where Vexilian royalty presented new military alliances to the public. Thousands of citizens had already gathered below, drawn by the unexpected announcement of a royal appearance. More were arriving by the minute, the crowd swelling as news spread through the capital. Queen Nereax stepped to the edge of the balcony, her regal presence immediately drawing all eyes. With perfect timing, she began the traditional alliance proclamation just as the distinctive silhouette of the stellar dominance appeared in the sky above the palace, clearly visible to everyone below. Gasps rippled through the crowd as they spotted the battlecruiser. The Queen continued without pause, her voice strong and clear as she introduced each ambassador by name and species, highlighting their world's contribution to the new security framework. Today marks a transformation in how we understand galactic security, she proclaimed, her skin shifting deliberately from formal gold to that deep, honest blue that had so shocked the diplomats the previous night. For too long, the Vexilian Empire has equated security with dominance. Today, we recognize that true security comes from connection, from celebrating our differences while embracing our common future. As she spoke, I monitored the approaching battlecruiser on a discreet handheld display. It had slowed but was still advancing. Admiral Krez was watching, listening, but not yet convinced. Queen Nereax must have noticed this too, for she departed from our planned script. Some will call this approach weakness, she continued, her voice taking on a steel edge while her skin remained that vulnerable blue. They are wrong. It takes far greater strength to extend a hand in friendship than to clench a fist in threat. She gestured to the 14 ambassadors standing beside her, each holding their unified standard. Look upon these representatives and understand. The Vexilian Empire is not diminished by these new relationships. We are expanded by them. Our culture is not diluted, it is enriched. Our security is not compromised, it is multiplied 14-fold. The battlecruiser had come to a complete stop now, hovering within weapons range, but taking no hostile action. To those who cannot see the wisdom in this new path, the Queen continued, now openly addressing the ship visible to all. I say this, the true measure of Vexilian greatness has never been how many worlds we can conquer, but how many worlds choose to stand with us. At her signal, the 14 ambassadors raised their standards simultaneously. The crowd below erupted in cheers, the unexpected spectacle capturing their imagination. The image was powerful, 14 species, many of them historical enemies, standing united with the Vexilian Queen. For one terrible moment, the battlecruiser's weapons systems powered up, energy readings spiking on my monitor. I held my breath, wondering if I had led 14 ambassadors and one queen to their deaths with my absurd Earth-inspired diplomacy. Then, slowly, the weapons powered down. The stellar dominance dipped in the traditional Vexilian salute of respect, then moved to take up a defensive position above the palace rather than an offensive one. The queen's skin flashed briefly with relieved green before returning to ceremonial gold. Without missing a beat, she concluded the presentation and led the ambassadors back inside to thunderous applause from below. Once safely inside, she turned to the confused diplomats. Thank you for your participation in this impromptu ceremony. Admiral Krez of our defense forces decided to provide an honor guard for the occasion. Most of the ambassadors accepted this explanation, unaware of how close they had come to witnessing a coup. Only the sharp-eyed Kandorian representative gave me a knowing look that suggested he understood exactly what had just transpired. The final negotiations proceeded without further interruption. By evening, the Galactic Security Accord had been signed by all 14 species, the most comprehensive peace agreement in known history. Not only were long-standing conflicts resolved, but new cooperative initiatives were established for cultural exchange, scientific research, and mutual defense. As the ambassadors prepared to depart the following day, Queen Nereax hosted one final gathering, not a formal ceremony, but a simple reception in the palace gardens. There was cake again, though without the ceremonial candles this time, and music from various worlds played while diplomats and their staffs mingled freely. I was speaking with Keela, who had been promoted to senior cultural liaison after her role in the birthday incident, when Queen Nereax approached us. Her skin was a relaxed blue I had never seen her display in public before the summit. "Tyler Grant," she said, dispensing with formal titles. "Walk with me." We strolled through the luminescent garden paths, away from the main reception. For a while, the Queen said nothing, simply observing the celebration she had helped create. "Admiral Krez has requested a meeting," she finally said. "He wishes to better understand this new approach to galactic politics." "That's promising," I replied carefully. "Yes, though significant resistance remains within the Empire." Her skin rippled with thoughtful purples. "Change does not come easily to a 5,000-year-old civilization. Change rarely comes easily to anyone, Your Majesty." She nodded, then stopped beside one of the floating pools, its surface reflecting the stars above. "The Galactic Council has formally requested that Earth establish a permanent cultural exchange office within the palace. They believe human perspectives offer valuable insight into interspecies relations." "That's a tremendous honor," I said, genuinely surprised. "Ambassador Chen must be thrilled. The Council specifically requested you as the first director." Her silver eyes studied my reaction. "Unless you wish to return to Earth?" The question caught me off guard. 3 months ago, I had been a junior diplomat whose greatest responsibility was carrying datapads. Now I was being offered a position that would shape galactic culture for generations to come. "I would be honored to accept, Your Majesty." "Good." For the second time since I had known her, Queen Nereax smiled fully. "I have grown accustomed to your unusual human perspectives." As we returned to the reception, Ambassador Chun intercepted us, her expression a mix of pride and disbelief. "Tyler, I've just received word from Earth. The Diplomatic Corps is creating an entirely new division based on your approach here. They're calling it Celebration Diplomacy." She shook her head in wonderment. 3 months ago, you were fetching coffee. Now you're creating diplomatic methodologies. "I just brought someone a birthday cake, Ambassador." "Sometimes the simplest gestures have the greatest impact," Queen Nereax interjected, her skin shifting to that now familiar deep blue. "Isn't that the essence of your Earth celebrations? To acknowledge what truly matters beyond politics and power." Over the following months, the impact of the Galactic Security Summit rippled across known space. The Unified Standard Ceremony became a regular feature of interspecies negotiations. Earth celebrations, birthdays, holidays, even simple dinner parties were incorporated into diplomatic protocols throughout the galaxy. Admiral Krez, after his private meeting with the Queen, became an unexpected advocate for the new approach. As he explained to his skeptical military colleagues, "The Queen has not weakened our position, she has transformed it. Why conquer worlds that now voluntarily align with us?" 6 months after the birthday incident, as it had become known in diplomatic circles, Queen Nereax summoned me to her private garden. I found her seated at the same table where I had first presented that crude cake, though now the garden had been enhanced with plants from all 14 worlds represented at the summit. "Tyler Grant," she greeted me, her skin a relaxed blue that I now recognized as her true, comfortable color. "Do you know what day it is?" I smiled. 6 months since I committed what should have been a career-ending protocol breach. "Indeed." She gestured to a small box on the table. "I have been researching Earth customs further. I believe this occasion would be considered a half-birthday, a concept I find charmingly unnecessary and therefore perfectly human. I opened the box to find a small, exquisitely crafted pendant in the shape of a Vexilian royal seal, modified to incorporate Earth's continents. The first of its kind, she explained. A symbol of our new approach to galactic relations. All 14 ambassadors from the summit are receiving similar pendants today, though theirs feature their own worlds rather than Earth. It's beautiful, Your Majesty. Thank you. She waved away the formality. In this garden, I think we can dispense with titles. After all, you have seen my true colors, quite literally. As I fastened the pendant around my neck, I marveled at how far we had come from that first impulsive gesture. When I brought you that birthday cake, I never imagined it would change galactic politics. Nor did I, she admitted, her skin rippling with amused purples. Though I am curious, what did you imagine would happen? Honestly, I expected to be fired, possibly imprisoned, and definitely deported. Yet you did it anyway. Why? I considered the question carefully. Because everyone deserves to be celebrated. Even, especially, alien queens who've never experienced it before. Her silver eyes studied me with that penetrating gaze that had intimidated me so thoroughly when we first met. Now I recognized the curiosity behind it, the genuine desire to understand. You humans are remarkable creatures, she said finally. So fragile physically, so limited technologically compared to many species, yet you spread through the galaxy like stardust, changing everything you touch not through force, but through cake and candles and celebrations. It's what we do best, I agreed. We connect. As if to prove my point, a communication alert chimed. Queen Nereax checked the message, her skin flashing briefly with surprised yellow. The Trilaxian hegemony has requested to join the Galactic Security Accord, she said, genuine astonishment in her voice. They have been isolationists for 3 centuries. What changed their minds? Apparently, their advanced scouts observed our unified standards ceremony. They wished to learn more about this celebration diplomacy. She shook her head in wonderment. They are asking specifically for human representatives at the negotiations. I couldn't help but laugh. So Earth's greatest contribution to galactic civilization isn't our technology or our resources, but our office parties and birthday cakes? Perhaps that is precisely what the galaxy needed. Her skin settled into that deep, honest blue as she looked out at the garden where plants from 15 different worlds now grew together. For millennia, species have approached each other with fear and calculation. You humans arrived with hope and celebration. 1 year to the day after I first presented Queen Nereax with that simple birthday cake, representatives from 27 species gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Vexilian Palace. The Galactic Harmony Accord, as it had come to be known, had transformed interstellar relations from a delicate balance of power to a genuine community of worlds. In the center of the hall stood a magnificent cake large enough for representatives of all 27 species to share. Atop it burned a single candle. Queen Nereax, her skin a perfect blend of formal gold and honest blue, addressed the assembled delegates. 1 year ago, a junior diplomat from Earth taught me the value of celebrating another's existence. Today, we celebrate not just the birth of individuals, but the birth of a truly united galaxy. She gestured to me, and I stepped forward to stand beside her. Make a wish for our future, I said quietly. Together, representatives from 27 worlds extinguished the flame. Later that evening, as the celebration continued around us, Queen Nereax pulled me aside. What did you wish for? She asked, her silver eyes curious. That's against the rules, I reminded her with a smile. If you tell, it won't come true. Ah yes, your human superstitions. Her skin rippled with amused purples. Though I must admit, the last wish I made came true beyond all expectation. What was it? I asked, genuinely curious. She looked out at the hall where beings from across the galaxy mingled freely, sharing food, music, and conversation without the ancient tensions that had defined their relationships for millennia. I wished for something I had never had in 28 years as queen, she said softly. I wished for a friend who saw me as a person, not just a sovereign. Her silver eyes met mine, and I understood then what my simple gesture had truly meant to her, not just as a ruler whose policies I had inadvertently influenced, but as someone who had spent her entire life isolated by her position. "Best birthday cake ever," I said with a smile. Her skin flashed with those joyful purples I had come to recognize as Vexillian laughter. "Indeed, Tyler Grant of Earth. Though I expect you to improve upon it next year." "Challenge accepted, Your Majesty." As we rejoined the celebration, watching representatives from worlds that had once been bitter enemies now sharing cake and making wishes on candles, I realized that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't our technology or our military strength or even our diplomatic protocols. It was our fundamental belief that everyone deserves to be celebrated simply for existing. That connections matter more than conquests. That sometimes the most powerful diplomatic tool isn't a weapon or a treaty, but a simple birthday cake and the recognition that even an alien queen ruling 1,000 stars needs to know that someone is glad she was born. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.